If you say this, a narcissist will fear you forever in the intense, transformative, take your power back style you're after. I know who you are. This is the line that cracks their mask. When you say this, not with rage, not with tears, but with calm certainty, it's a nuclear bomb to their illusion of control. Narcissists depend on confusion and manipulation. But when you see them clearly, you strip them of their camouflage. You become dangerous because truth is their greatest fear. I no longer need your approval. This is a declaration of emotional independence. A narcissist thrives when you seek their validation. But the second you say this and mean it, they lose leverage. You're no longer playing the game they rigged. You're not a puppet anymore. You're standing tall, free from the strings. And nothing terrifies them more than losing their grip on someone they once controlled. That's your opinion, not my reality. A narcissist's power comes from distorting your sense of self. They want you to doubt your worth, your memories, your gut. But when you say this, you're drawing a line in steel. You're reclaiming your reality. You're refusing to internalize their poison. And when they realize they can't rewrite your story, panic sets in. Don't contact me again. Silence is not weakness, it's power. Saying this is like slamming the gates of your kingdom and posting a sign that reads, "Entry denied." Narcissists hate boundaries. Why? Because boundaries expose their lack of real power. They can't manipulate what they can't reach. And when you walk away without looking back, they finally see the truth. They never owned you. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Fear is the fuel they run on. It's the reason they gaslight, intimidate, and guilt trip. But when you say this, you pull the plug on their entire system. You've woken up, you've faced your deepest emotional wounds and turned them into armor. And when you're no longer scared of losing them, they're terrified of losing their control over you. That's not love, that's control. This line strikes at the heart of every manipulation tactic they use. Narcissists love to mask control as concern, criticism as caring, domination as devotion. But when you expose the truth, it's like flipping the lights on in a dark room. They scramble. Because once you separate control from love, their whole empire crumbles. You don't get to rewrite my story. This is the war cry of someone who has woken up. You're not just surviving anymore, you're reclaiming. Narcissists fear people who start telling the truth out loud. They want you silent, but when you speak your story, your way, loud, proud, and unstoppable, they're the ones who start to run because they can't control a voice that refuses to be silenced. I know who you are. There's a moment, maybe you felt it, when the fog begins to lift, when the confusion, the self-doubt, the second guessing, it all just stops. And what rushes in is something deeper, sharper, clearer. You look at them and suddenly you see it. Not the false charm, not the twisted kindness. You see the manipulation, the coldness behind the mask, the emptiness behind the smile. And you say, with the force of 1,000 awakenings, I know who you are. It's not said in anger. It's not screamed or thrown like a punch. It's calm, grounded, like a judge delivering a final verdict. Because this isn't about fighting. This is about truth, and truth to a narcissist is lethal. They don't fear arguments. They don't fear drama. They feed on that. But when you drop that one line with eyes that pierce through their performance, you become their worst nightmare. Why? Because narcissists live off illusion. They're masters of disguise. One moment they're the victim, the next the hero, the next the martyr. It's like watching a one-person play where every character is designed to make you feel wrong, guilty, broken, or inferior. But when you say, I know who you are, you're no longer buying a ticket to the show. You're turning the lights on in the theater. You're exposing the strings, the costume changes, the rehearsed lines. And that's when the game changes forever. Because now you're not reacting anymore. You're not apologizing for things you didn't do. You're not justifying your boundaries. You're not begging to be understood. You've stepped outside of their fantasy. You're standing in reality. In that moment, you reclaim your vision. You reclaim your intuition. You reclaim the knowing that they spent years trying to bury under gaslighting and guilt. The moment you say this, a shift happens inside you. It's like something ancient wakes up, a primal power that was always there but had been silenced. And now it rises, fully, boldly, without apology, because you realize you're not the crazy one. You're not the broken one. You were just manipulated by someone who was terrified you might one day wake up, and now you have. What makes this phrase so powerful isn't just the words, it's the energy behind them. It's the certainty, it's the clarity. Narcissists thrive in murky waters. But when you come in with crystal clear vision, they lose their grip. They can't handle someone who sees them fully and refuses to flinch. And when they feel that power from you, real embodied, grounded power, they panic. Not outwardly, maybe. Some will laugh it off. Others will try to guilt you, play dumb, or spin the script. But inside, they're shaking because they know the second someone sees the truth, that person becomes immune. Yes, immune. Immune to the love bombing, immune to the gaslighting, immune to the guilt traps and silent treatments and passive aggressive jabs. You become a fortress, not hard or bitter, but clear, solid, untouchable. You no longer need to defend yourself. You no longer need to explain. You know the truth, and that is enough. You see, this phrase isn't just a confrontation. It's a declaration of rebirth. It says, I no longer need to figure you out, fix you, or fear you. I see you. And because I do, I'm finally free. And don't underestimate how deeply that shakes them. When you see them, they lose the script. They can't manipulate someone who isn't confused. They can't twist the mind of someone who knows their own truth. You become unpredictable. And to a narcissist, unpredictability in the person they once controlled, that's hell. This is where you step into a new chapter, not with vengeance, not with bitterness, but with liberation. You walk forward with your head high because you know now, and that knowledge, that knowing, that is power that cannot be taken back. You will never unsee. You will never unknow. And they will never forget it, because the moment you looked them dead in the eye and said, I know who you are, was the moment they lost control forever. I no longer need your approval. There is no prison more suffocating than the need for someone else's approval. And when that someone is a narcissist, that prison becomes invisible. It feels like freedom. It feels like love, but it's not. It's addiction. It's entanglement. It's emotional dependency disguised as connection. And the moment you stand tall, breathe deep, and say, I no longer need your approval, you tear the walls of that prison down. Not just for today, not just for this moment, but for life. Approval is their weapon. It's not a gift. It's a leash. Given when you obey, yanked when you resist. They use it to shape you, mold you, make you question everything, just to earn a breadcrumb of validation. And you think, if I could just make them happy, maybe I'll feel enough. But you won't. You never will. Because they're not interested in your growth. They're invested in your dependence. And the moment that becomes clear to you, the chains start to fall. You realize you've been dancing for applause from someone who never intended to clap. You've been breaking yourself into pieces, trying to fit inside a mold they designed to keep you small. And when you finally say it, I no longer need your approval. It's not just a sentence. It's a homecoming. It's you returning to your own center, your own voice, your own truth. You stop waiting for the compliment, waiting for the permission, waiting for them to finally see the best in you, because now you do. And that shift shatters the entire illusion they've built around you. If they don't know what to do with someone who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't explain, and make no mistake, they will feel it. The moment you reclaim your approval from their hands, they will feel it like an earthquake beneath their feet. Because their control never came from strength. It came from your willingness to give it away. And when you stop giving, they stop winning. What used to control you now becomes irrelevant. Their opinions, background noise. Their judgments, paper bullets. You stop needing them to understand you because you've already decided to understand yourself. You stop needing them to validate your choices because you've already crowned yourself the authority of your life. And that's where the fear sets in for them, not for you, because you're rising. And they know it. You're no longer chasing their ever-shifting standards. You're setting your own. And those standards are rooted in reality, in value, in wholeness, not in manipulation, not in performance, and certainly not in fear. You're no longer the person they met. That person was seeking approval. That person was looking for safety outside of themselves. That person was still trying to be good enough in someone else's eyes. But now you look in the mirror and you know you already are. And you don't need anyone to co-sign your worth, least of all them. There's a quiet rebellion in that. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's unstoppable. When you stop asking, am I enough for them, and start affirming, I am enough for me, the narcissist loses the only foothold they had, because their power was never real, it was borrowed from you, from your doubt, from your insecurity. And now that you've reclaimed it, there's nothing left for them to feed on. They will test you, they'll try to bait you, throw out little comments designed to wound. You've changed. You think you're better now. Wow, that's really selfish. But this time, those words don't land because you know the truth. The only thing that changed is that you stopped begging for scraps from a table you were never meant to sit at. This is where you start creating from your own alignment. You make choices that serve your soul. You speak words that reflect your integrity. You build a life that doesn't ask for applause. And ironically, that's when you become most powerful. Because true power doesn't shout. It stands, quiet, certain, free. And freedom to a narcissist is terrifying because a free person is unpredictable, uncontrollable, untouchable. When you no longer need their approval, you've escaped the one trap they swore you'd never outgrow. You've broken the addiction. You've outgrown the illusion. You've stepped into your identity. So when you say, I no longer need your approval, it's not just a boundary, it's a revolution. It's the day you stop performing and start living. And from that moment forward, they will fear you, not because you are cruel, but because you are complete. That's your opinion, not my reality. There's a point in every survivor's journey when they stop absorbing the poison, when they stop internalizing every insult, every dig, every guilt trip. That moment is electric. You feel it like lightning in your chest. Your breath slows, your mind clears. You hear their voice trying to twist the narrative, paint you as the villain, gaslight your emotions. And you look them dead in the eye and say, that's your opinion, not my reality. In that instant, you're doing something they never expected. You're breaking the spell because that's what narcissistic manipulation is. It's a spell cast through repetition, through fear, through shame. And you've been under it for so long that you almost forgot you had a voice of your own. But when you say this, your real voice returns. Not the voice they approved, not the one they trained to walk on eggshells, yours. You see, narcissists don't just attack your self-worth, they attack your perception. They want to own your reality. If they can make you question what you saw, what you felt, what you know in your bones to be true, then they win. That's how they gain control, not by force, but by distortion. So the second you draw that line and say, no, that's your version, not mine, their power starts to disintegrate. Because now you're not playing the game. They'll say you're too sensitive, you're overreacting, you misunderstood. But this time, you don't scramble to prove your innocence. You don't fold into guilt. You don't hand them the keys to your sanity. You pause. You breathe. And you stand still in your knowing. And in that stillness, they see it. They see their grip slipping. That line is your sword and your shield. It doesn't need to be screamed. It doesn't need to be backed by a list of facts or explanation. It just needs to be said with clarity, with conviction. Because when you draw the boundary between their opinion and your truth, you are separating yourself from their control system. You are saying, I exist outside of your story. And that terrifies them because up until now, they were the author, the narrator, the one who got to define who you were and how the world saw you. But when you claim your reality, that storybook burns. They can rant, they can gossip, they can play the victim. None of it sticks to you anymore because you're no longer inside the drama. They're talking about a version of you that no longer exists. You start to live from the inside out, not outside in. You're not performing for approval. You're not shrinking for acceptance. You're not digesting insults and calling them love. You've upgraded your standards. You've rewritten your truth. And the beauty is, you don't need them to agree with it. You just need to own it. They may rage, they may mock, they may play dumb, but you'll feel it. You'll feel the shift because they're no longer standing on solid ground. The reality was always a game of smoke and mirrors. And now that you're no longer hypnotized, you can see it all clearly. Their tactics, their projections, their fear. Yes, fear. Because what scares a narcissist more than anything is someone who no longer buys the illusion. Someone who sees the wizard behind the curtain and says, that's not power, that's insecurity dressed up as control. And when you call it out, not with anger, but with truth, they panic. Because truth has no antidote. You start to build a new world. One where your thoughts are your own. Your feelings are valid, your instincts are trusted. You're not perfect, but you are whole. And that wholeness, that's what makes you untouchable. Because there is nothing more dangerous to a narcissist than someone who trusts their own voice more than theirs. You may have lost years to confusion, to doubt, to hoping they'd change, but in this moment, right here, right now, you are reclaiming all of it. Every second, every wound, every piece of yourself that got buried under their lies. You're not just defending your truth, you're resurrecting it. So the next time they try to pull you back in, remember the line, simple, firm, final. That's your opinion, not my reality. And just like that, their power over you ends, not with a fight, but with a sentence that sets you free. Don't contact me again. There comes a moment in your healing when silence becomes louder than 1,000 words, when peace becomes more powerful than war. And in that moment, you don't yell, you don't plead, you don't explain, you just say it with unwavering resolve. Don't contact me again. Not out of spite, not out of rage, but out of power. And that makes a narcissist tremble. You see, narcissists aren't afraid of arguments. They love arguments. They crave emotional engagement. Why? Because every angry text, every tearful phone call, every screaming match is a thread that keeps you tied to them. They don't care if the attention is negative or positive. To them, control is control. Drama is currency. Chaos is leverage. And when you finally stop responding, you're cutting off their supply line. That one sentence, don't contact me again, is the emotional eviction notice. It's the moment you reclaim your space, your peace, your mind. You're not slamming the door in bitterness, you're closing it in truth. Because you've seen the pattern, you've lived the cycle, and now you refuse to ride that roller coaster one more time. They will test it. Oh, they will test it. They'll wait a day, a week, a month, and then come back with something that sounds innocent. Just checking in, hope you're doing okay. I miss you, but don't get it twisted. That's not care, that's bait. They're not reaching out to reconnect. They're reaching out to rehook you. But this time, you don't bite because you've made a decision. You're done being their emotional lifeline. You're done being the backup plan, the emotional punching bag, the go-to supply. You've decided that your nervous system deserves better, that your peace is no longer up for negotiation. And when you say, don't contact me again, you're not just cutting them off, you're crowning yourself. It might feel cold at first, it might feel unnatural, you might hear that inner voice whispered, maybe you're being too harsh, maybe you should just send one last message to explain. But that's the old wiring, that's the voice they trained you to listen to. And now you choose new wiring. You choose silence. You choose no response as your final response. What scares a narcissist isn't that you're angry. What scares them is that you're done, truly done, because anger means they still have access to your energy. But indifference, detachment, silence, That's the end game. It's the moment they realize the door isn't just closed, it's locked, and you threw away the key. You're not punishing them, you're protecting you. You're choosing mental clarity over manipulation. You're choosing inner peace over external approval. And once you taste that kind of freedom, real freedom, you'll never go back. The drama doesn't seduce you anymore. The chaos doesn't call your name. You don't miss the highs and lows because you've outgrown the entire playground. And sure, they may smear you. They may play the victim. They may tell everyone who will listen that you're cold, heartless, unstable. Let them. Because their version of the story is no longer your burden to correct. You're not in the business of defending yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You're in the business of healing. And here's the magic. When you choose silence, you choose power. When you don't respond, you respond with strength. When you block, unfollow, delete, you are rewriting your nervous system. You're saying, I am no longer available for this energy. And the universe listens when you get that clear. You begin to build a life that doesn't need their name in it. You wake up without checking your phone for their messages. You go to sleep without replaying the last argument in your mind. You start laughing again, breathing again, creating again. Because when that toxic energy leaves, space opens. And in that space, you step in fully. The old version of you would have explained, justified, compromised, but not anymore. The new version of you says what needs to be said and lets it stand. And the line that ends it all, the line that draws the final boundary, the line they'll never forget, don't contact me again. And just like that, the game ends. And you walk away, not as the victim, but as the victor. You hold the power now. There was a time, maybe for years, when you lived in fear of upsetting them. A time when you walked on eggshells, bent your truth, and shrank your voice just to keep the peace. You silenced your instincts, you questioned your memory, you swallowed your rage. And all for what? To keep someone close who only ever felt safe when you felt small. But those days are over. Because now you see the truth. You see through the mask. You see the tactics, the manipulation, the projection, the guilt. You've learned that love doesn't look like control. That loyalty shouldn't cost your identity, and that peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of clarity. You've found your voice again, and not just any voice, the voice that can cut through illusion like a blade, the voice that says, I don't need your approval. That's your opinion, not my reality. Don't contact me again. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I don't owe you anything. My boundaries are not up for debate. This conversation is over. These aren't just words. They're weapons of liberation. They are statements of self-possession, declarations of sovereignty. Every time you speak one of them into the world, the narcissist loses their grip, and you reclaim another piece of your soul. They may rage, they may cry, they may act confused, but that's not your problem anymore. You are no longer dancing for their approval. You are no longer validating their reality. You are no longer sacrificing your truth to protect their ego. You are free. And that's what they fear most, not your anger, not your revenge, not your silence. What they fear is your independence, your confidence, your clarity, because when you no longer play the game, they can no longer control the scoreboard. You've taken your power back, and now you're playing by your rules. So don't look back, don't second guess, don't soften your truth to make someone else comfortable. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be liberated. And when you speak with the voice of your highest self, the world doesn't just listen, it shifts. Say what needs to be said, and then walk away. Not in bitterness, not in rage, but in the power of someone who finally knows they never needed the narcissist's permission to be free.